Sequencing in trading card games is how you decide the order of the actions you take, like choosing to activate a certain card or ability first over another one. In this video, I'll teach you the basic concepts of sequencing. I'll be giving 4 ways on how you can use sequencing to increase your chances of winning, with examples for each of them. Number 1. Sequencing can increase your odds of getting the cards you need. For our first example, Eva's Greed 1 and 2 in the ride line each searches an order. Let's say you have to search out one of each, result of the experiment henceforth, and torrential energy research. Which order do you search out and play on your first turn? You search out result of the experiment henceforth first, because if you search out and use torrential energy research first, you have a chance to get experiment henceforth in your top 5, which lessens your chances of getting a monster. While if you search out henceforth first, you take out one non-monster card from your deck on your first turn, and then on your second turn, when you play a torrential energy, you have more chances of getting 2 monsters. It guarantees one card that you don't want in your top 5 to not be there. You lessen your chances of being unlucky and whiffing. For our second example, we'll be going with Eva again, but you can apply this logic to other decks as well. When abilities activate at the same time in Vanguard, the player can choose which ability to activate first. You're going second and you just rode grade 1 Eva. You now have 2 options. You can either draw a card first or search out an order first. If you don't want your hand to be filled with orders, it's better to search out an order first, so you remove one set order from your deck before drawing a card, so you have lesser chance to draw a set order. Number 2, you can adjust your sequencing to give less information to your opponent. This makes it that your opponent has less information to base their decisions on. For example, you're playing Shiranui. It's your first ride and you're on Magon Tenbu. It's already main phase and you have 2 Sekies in hand. You now have 2 options. You can either activate Magon Tenbu's skill first, or you call out your Sekies. What do you do first? In this situation, it's just better to activate Magon Tenbu's skill first, because if you call your Sekies first, your opponent will now know your board and can plan his guarding earlier. But if you didn't call it and use Magon Tenbu's skill first, they won't know that you only have Sekies in your field, because the ideal restander in Shiranui is Furai, which can hit over defensives. If you only have Seki, one defensive trigger will stop almost all your attacks, so it gives more incentive to the opponent to just take the first, or just take your dominate attack. If you didn't call your units, your opponent will now be more wary on how to guard their turn, since they don't know if you have grade 1s in hand or you have Furais and etc. Number 3, with sequencing, you can give yourself as much information as possible before you have to make a decision. So for our first example, you're playing Shoujo Doji and you're going second. So you have 2 options. You can either first draw a card, or first look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add a stealth card from among them to Soul and Bind. In this situation, if you choose to draw first, you'll be able to have 6 cards you know about before looking at the top 5 cards of your deck. But if you choose to look at the top 5 first, you'll only have 5 cards in your hand that you know about, so that's 1 less card that you know about. Like, what if you draw a Persona Ride and then you look at top 5? It will be easier to make a decision if you see a Persona Ride in the top 5, since you already know you have one. Number 4, for the last one, I believe almost every one of you is already practicing this. It's just general game knowledge on your deck. With sequencing, you can give yourself more options and give you more advantage. Simple examples like using Ogijishi before using the grade 3 Shoujo Doji's bind skill, so you now have another card in your soul you can choose from. You can call Tenri and use his skill before dominating another unit with Magon Tenbu, so you have an option to bounce Tenri back to hand when your opponent does not guard a dominated attack. And on Eva, it's better to play an order first in most cases before using the white Eva's skill, so you now have more cards in your order zone, so you can look at more cards from the top of your deck. Some of these choices may seem small, but they do add up, and sometimes that single choice could have been the reason why you won or lost a game. There's already a lot of variance in TCGs, so you might as well lessen it as much as possible and put the odds in your favor.